My name is Kay. Standing here in my kitchen, looking at the counter where my first prototype once sat under a white cloth, I'm flooded with memories. Just a few hours ago, I was at the center of a storm of emotions, facing the people who once laughed at my dream. The buyout went public this morning at 8:12 a.m. By 8:14, my phone was vibrating like a caged animal on the kitchen counter. The headline read, "Founder of Rising Pet Health Innovation Secures Multi-Million-Dollar Acquisition and Strategic Expansion Deal." My name was in bold, and the number was real, a life-changing $5 million. As the news spread, messages started pouring in from relatives I hadn't heard from in months. "So proud of you. Always knew you were special. Family is everything." It was almost comical, the speed at which their opinions changed. My mother called 3 times, and my father texted, "We need to talk as a family immediately." But the most unexpected was when, at 9:03, there was a pounding on my door. Through the side glass, I saw my mother looking frantic, my father angry in that helpless way, and my sister, Lily, looking destroyed. They started shouting, "Kay, open up. We need to talk, please." I kept the door locked and stood where they could see me. "About what?" I asked. My father stepped forward and said, "Don't do this through a door." I smiled and replied, "Why not? You did." His confused look was so revealing. Lily finally looked at me and said, "Please let me explain." I retorted, "You had years to explain. Mostly you chose smirking." And then she broke down, crying on my porch, saying, "I lost my job. They terminated me this morning after the article and the review. They said I damaged my credibility and the company's image." My mother started crying too, and my father tried to say, "No one is asking you for money. We just want to make things right." I asked, "Do you? Or did the number in the article suddenly make me worth listening to?" Silence filled the air, and then Lily whispered, "I need your help. It all started long ago. I come from a family where my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, were very traditional. My father was a strict man who valued practicality above all else, and my mother was more passive, often going along with my father's views. Lily, my older sister, was the golden child, always getting the praise and attention. I had been working on a compact pet monitoring system for nearly 2 years. It was a project that I poured my evenings, weekends, savings, energy, and pride into. I believed it could genuinely help pet owners detect early signs of stress, temperature changes, hydration levels, and behavior patterns in their pets. One night, I invited my family over for dinner. I was finally ready to show them what I had been working on. The device sat on my kitchen counter, covered with a clean white cloth. It wasn't flashy, but I knew it had the potential to change my life. As we sat around the table, enjoying the smell of roasted chicken and garlic, the conversation was normal at first. But then, Lily leaned back in her chair, glanced at the covered device, and gave that smug smirk. "That gadget of yours is a joke. Nobody's buying it. You're better off sticking with your regular job, Kay." The whole table burst into laughter. It was a cruel, humiliating laugh, the kind that made me feel like my dream was ridiculous in their eyes. I didn't cry or argue. I just stood there, letting the moment sink in. I made a silent promise that I would make them remember this night and regret dismissing me so easily. That night, I couldn't sleep. I cleaned the plates, packed the leftovers, and kept replaying the scene in my head. Lily's words, "A joke. Nobody's buying it. Stick to your regular job," kept echoing in my mind. But as the night went on, those words transformed from insults into commands: build faster. Work harder. Win so completely they never dare laugh again. By sunrise, my apartment had turned into a war room. I covered the walls with notes, spread components everywhere, and worked non-stop. But I soon realized I needed help. I called my old college friend, Ethan. He was one of the few people I knew whose intelligence was genuine and not for show. We met at a coffee shop, and I told him about my family's reaction and the problems with the prototype. He didn't say yes right away. Instead, he asked me hard questions about manufacturing cost, stability, sensor reliability, and more. His calmness under pressure made me stop feeling embarrassed, and I was too busy defending my idea. Finally, he said, "Okay. So, this isn't a joke. It's just unfinished." Those words gave me the strength to keep going. For the next 2 weeks, my life became a blur of code, solder, calibration, and testing. There were times when I would imagine Lily seeing my name in a business feature, executives fighting to buy the product she mocked. It was an ugly but effective fantasy. As the demo day approached, the prototype started acting up. Battery instability, data lag, inconsistent readings, it was a nightmare. One Thursday at 2 a.m., the system failed completely, and the test display went black. Ethan suggested postponing, but I refused. I was not going to let my family be right. Around 3:15, exhausted and furious, I found a short clip from the family dinner on my phone. I had recorded it to have some footage of the prototype, but instead, I captured Lily's insult and the laughter. I sent it to her with a message: "Keep this. You'll want to remember what you said before the numbers come out." After that, something changed. We stripped down the prototype and focused on its strongest function. At 5:40 a.m., the system finally stabilized. The day before the demo, Lily texted me, "You're taking this way too personally." I replied, "No. I'm just finishing what you started." The demo took place in a fancy private event space in Silicon Valley. Ethan carried the prototype like it was a bomb. I wore a dark blazer and low heels, determined to make a good impression. I hadn't invited my family, but halfway through the setup, I saw Lily sitting in the back row. For a moment, I felt the old urge to defend myself, but then it vanished. I thought, good. Let her watch. When it was my turn, I introduced the product clearly. I explained the gap between pet owners' love for their pets and the lack of early warning signs. I described the stress markers and how the device could fit into daily life. At first, the room was reserved. But as I started the live demonstration, it went smoothly for 30 seconds. Then, the display froze. I could feel the tension in the room. I saw Lily's anticipatory face in the back row. But I didn't panic. I stepped closer to the device, reset it, and said, "If you build anything real, you build it through failure in public and correction under pressure. So let me show you the part that matters, not perfection, but recovery." The system came back to life, and the interest in the room shifted from doubt to serious interest. I finished my presentation stronger than I started and dedicated the product to everyone who had been told their ideas were foolish. After the session, people swarmed around us with questions about licensing, acquisition, and positioning. I was finally the opportunity they were looking for. As I stepped away from the stage, I didn't feel vindicated. I felt sharpened. And then, Lily cornered me outside. She said, "That was better than I expected." I laughed in her face and said, "Better than you expected? How generous of you." She tried to defend herself, but I wasn't having it. I showed her an email chain that revealed how her public mockery had come back to haunt her. Her face turned pale as she realized the consequences. She pleaded with me, asking what she should do. I told her to stop pretending it was a misunderstanding, tell the truth if anyone asked, and bear the cost if it affected her. Now, standing here, looking at the counter, I know that the woman they laughed at is gone. I've become someone who values clarity over understanding. Dreams aren't jokes, especially when they cost so much. And I'll never forget the sound of the daughter's fists